there's going to be, hopefully we get 50 people. There's going to be 49 other people in this group that are all in the same level as you, and they all want to help you. And that's it. They want to help you because when you help someone else, you're going to learn a ton in the process.
RT Custer, welcome to the ROI Online Podcast.
Amazing, right?
So I was looking forward to this conversation. I first learned about you when I was researching cool watches. And you have a company called Vortic Watch Company. And that's where I kind of started to learn a little bit about you. What in the world got you going with Vortic, and what's so unique about them?
Yeah, great question. And I'm happy to hear you found me through, good old fashioned Google search. I think a lot of people are like best American watch company or, made in USA watches or something like that. And that's how they find us. But yeah, Vortic, the word and the brand Vortic is like vortex and TikTok, a beautiful clash of old and new. And what we literally do is we salvage and restore antique American pocket watches and turn them into one-of-a-kind wristwatches, making like totally unique products, almost completely made in USA. And I think that's, when a lot of people search us out, that's what they're looking for is either an American watch company. So, they feel like they're not buying something from China or just, off the shelf from Switzerland. Or they just want to, support American made or find something that's like legitimately one of a kind with a really cool story. And our story is pretty straightforward. I mean, my business partner, Tyler, and I had this idea on the golf course at Penn State after class one day. We were both studying. He was studying mathematics. I was studying engineering. We are not watch makers. We are not necessarily watch guys. We just like engineering. We like how it's made. And we had a couple, I think, pretty cool ideas in the watch world. And that was over a decade ago that we had that idea to turn a pocket watch into a wristwatch. And it took us a while to figure out kind of how to do it. We launched on Kickstarter in late 2014. And the rest is history, Steve. I mean, we've sold every watch we've made since. Just really, I think, fell into a really cool niche of the pocket watch from America 100 years ago, turned into a wristwatch. And our customers just love it and they keep coming back and buying more. So we're going to keep making them.
That's super interesting to me. And they're really good looking watches. I really encourage folks to go check them out. But, the reason that you and I are talking today is not necessarily because of that, but I thought it was interesting that I found you that way. The folks that listen to this podcast or watch these YouTube videos, they're folks that are starting their journey as far as running an agency, being an independent contractor and helping folks do their marketing. And you have an agency, Carter and Custer agency, right? And so did that agency come first before Vortic or what?
Yeah, great question. So for Vortic, we started that in 2014. I basically did my own marketing or, tried. So, based on your audience, hopefully people understand like it's a roller coaster out there, especially, I mean, 2014, 15, 16 were like, those were fun years to be in digital marketing, especially if you're trying to figure it out yourself. And I hired a bunch of different agencies in like the 2017, 2018, 2019 range because we were almost to seven figures. I felt like I had a true marketing budget. I had done enough Facebook ads myself that I was just like, okay, I could do this, but like, let's find an expert. And so I worked with a couple different agencies. And I got really frustrated with most of the agencies I was working with just not giving me what I considered enough of their time. Like I felt like a checkbox to their account managers, of just like, hey, we're checking in. But, one of the account managers at one of the agencies, they had like, I think at one point they told me they have like 30 or 35 clients and I was one of them. And I appreciate that as like growing your business. And I'd never owned an agency before, so I had no idea how that worked. But I wasn't getting what I wanted. And so in late 2019, I started like taking it all back in-house. I put out a job offering for like an in-house digital marketer, like director of marketing for Vortic Watch Company. And I started meeting people, and I had some really good conversations. And then, as we all know, in early 2020, there's no other way to say it, shit hit the fan, like it for all of us. And I thought, to be totally transparent, in early 2020, I sell luxury wristwatches online. $2,000 to $10,000 is our price point for these pocket watch conversions. I was like, in a pandemic, who's going to buy watches? Like I'm screwed. No one, like we're going to go out of business. And so I love marketing. I grew up around advertising. I had done most of it myself. I've become really good with email marketing, especially, and Shopify based stuff, because I've been messing around with a bunch of different things, mostly for Vortic. And so I was like, you know what? I'm going to start my own agency, and I'm going to just bring this in house. I'm going to build a small team because there's a bunch of people looking for work in the early pandemic. I happen to be in a good cash flow position that I could bring on a couple more people. I started a separate LLC and said, okay, half your time is for Vortic Watch Company, and the other half, I'm going to go find some other clients to pay the bills, so that if Vortic does okay, we'll be okay. And if Vortic doesn't okay, we'll shift, doesn't do okay, we'll shift more focus over the agency, and hopefully I can still feed my family. And that was the initial concept. And that was really the first like 6 months of 2020 for me. And knock on wood, thank God, whatever you believe, for some reason, more people bought wristwatches online in the last 2 years than like any 2 years ever. Couldn't have predicted it. I just hung out with a bunch of my watch company friends, people that own other watch companies, and none of us really get it still, but we feel lucky, we feel blessed. So I still have today the watch company doing really well. Vortic is just thriving. Everything's awesome. And the agency also has done phenomenal. I sold half of it to a business partner. So now I have two business partners, one helping me with Vortic Watch Company, and one Jim Carter and Custer Agency. And I just do business development, do this kind of stuff, have fun conversations, and I'm always selling something. I'm selling a watch, or I'm selling advertising services, and it's super fun. I'm loving life right now.
Well, that's an excellent story. You know, I love talking about certain things that agencies might consider doing for themselves or for their clients. And one of the things that's really interesting to me is you started a mastermind, and it's called Fast Foundations Mastermind. Now, as far as, a marketing strategy, a mastermind is a brilliant way to go about it. There's a whole way of developing a mastermind, how to approach it, what's a strategy, but it's a legitimate way to grow your business or to grow a client's business. And so I really wanted to dig into that and understand why, first of all, why did you get inspired to do it? And then, help us understand how we might consider it, or how we should look at considering a mastermind.
Yeah. So I've always been a fan of masterminds. The first couple masterminds I joined or was part of, I was just there participating as the owner of Vortic Watch Company. And they were all like in person in Colorado, where I'm based. And that was really cool. And, for anyone that doesn't know, I mean, the concept of a mastermind is, let's call it 10 people in a room. They're all similar level business owners. Maybe they're trying to get from 6 to 7 figures, or from 7 to 8 figures. We all run different businesses, but we have similar problems. And everybody basically signs an NDA and has an agreement with the group of like, this is a safe place. You can share anything and everything, and we're all here to help each other. No one person is taking more, giving more from the group than another, because we all have our different expertise and we all have different problems at different times. And I just fell in love with the concept of masterminds. I've had several great ideas and life-changing conversations that have come from being in the room with other people other like-minded people is really the thing. And in I guess like mid 2021, Jim and I were merging our agencies. We were trying to figure out like, okay, what's the best way to market and grow an agency? And our friend Chris Harder told us he didn't want to do his mastermind called Fast Foundations anymore. He had moved on to another level. He does masterminds, but at a much higher level, people going from like 8 to 9 figures. And this Fast Foundations one is basically people going from like 5 or 6 to 7 figures, like entry level entrepreneurs, typically for people with $500,000 in annual revenue or less. And I was just saying to Jim, talking about our agency, that like, it's fun selling agency services, but our least expensive agency service is about $3,000 to $5,000 a month. And then, in watches, my least expensive watch is $2,500. And so I was just like, but I love working with people that are just not quite at that level yet. And so buying this mastermind and bringing it into like a marketing funnel for us makes a ton of sense, because the mastermind it equates to about $1,000, maybe $1,500 a month. It's a five-month long program for, somewhere between $5,000 and $7,000, depending on how you pay. And it's just, it's really cool to have this group now. We have 50 people in Fast Foundations, and we can bring in guest speakers. We can have conversations like this I'm having with you, Steve, of just like, all right, how'd you get started? How can we help? We have 2 in-person events, one on either side of the 5 months of the mastermind. And yeah, hopefully 5 or 10 of the 50 people in this mastermind up-level their business to the point where they can afford marketing agency services, and they already know, love, and trust us as the leader of the mastermind. And so they'll come to us for marketing services. But worst case scenario, we're making a little bit of money by helping 50 people grow their businesses. And, it feels really good to be able to help people and make money at the same time. And I think that's kind of a rare thing, to be able to do that really authentically and from a genuine place.
I like to describe a mastermind is there's a set of problems or things that an entrepreneur experiences that they don't have anyone they can really talk to about it that really understands. The employee, if you confide in an employee, they're not looking at the business from the same perspective, and it can be either intimidating to them. It can be, worrisome to them that the owner of the company is encountering problems or trying to think something through. But it's like, you need someone to talk to. Your spouse is not the right one either. Even though they care, they are not relating. And the first time that I found a group to kind of talk about this stuff, I literally had the thought in my head that, wow, I'm not crazy.
Yep.
Because they are talking about the same things that I haven't been able to talk to with anyone about.
And there's no stupid questions, because like if you're in a true safe place and you ask a question, you're totally right. Like I found some amazing people on my teams, and I love shooting the shit with the team and talking about all that stuff. But like, if the business is struggling from a cash flow standpoint, you don't want to just casually have a conversation with your director of operations, or, for us, like the person, like you're one of your account managers in the agency, and be like, yeah, we almost missed payroll last month, but like, other than that, everything's pretty cool. Because you're right. They're just like, okay, well, I thought we were good, but I'm going to go look for some other jobs over here. And when you're in a safe place with, if it's me and you, and we both run an agency, and there's some other people that run manufacturing businesses, and some other people that run consumer product companies and service businesses, you can say like, hey, when the last time you all almost ran out of money, what'd you do? And somebody will say, oh, I got a connection to a banker. Somebody will say, if you need a hard money loan, here's what that looks like. Somebody else would be like, hey, did you hear about the like PPP and EIDL programs that they did? Like, there's still some stuff in there. You'll get all kinds of ideas and help, because to your point, they just have a different perspective. There's nothing in it for them. whether you go out of business or you pay your employees or you do really well, they can feel like they help by just saying, hey, this is what I did. It worked for me. Grain of salt might work for you. But yeah, that's so many great ideas and helpful conversations come from that because of that perspective. I would say that's the biggest thing in a mastermind.
I think a lot of things that an entrepreneur puts in front of them, they don't realize they actually erect these invisible barriers based on their perspective or preconceived ideas. And when you get to sit and talk to others like that, you can remove barriers or limiting beliefs that you might have when you talk to someone. No, you're thinking about it wrong. If you thought about it this way and you're like, well, wow, I didn't even consider that.
Yeah. And you're in the room full of like other people that are probably, some of the people in the room are farther ahead than you, either by revenue or by business type or age of the business. But you're sitting next to someone who, like, okay, let's say my business does 1.2 million a year and I'm sitting next to someone who does 10 million a year. At the end of the day, I'm going to realize like, this person's cool. This person is just like me. Like there's no reason I can't have a 10 times larger business than I am and still be a great person, still be a great father, still be a great partner, because this person has done it. And like it's not like they're Elon, right? Like it's a normal person sitting next to me. This is really cool. So yeah, I think it just the concept of a mastermind normalizes all of those things, normalizes those hard conversations. It normalizes the room and like the word success of like, what is that? People talk about profit, not just revenue. It's not like you're winning by having the largest revenue, because when in a safe place like that, it's like, okay, cool. You do 10 million a year in revenue, but like, how much do you pay yourself personally? And we've had some hard conversations with people to say like, okay, your business is doing well, but you aren't. How can we help? Like, holy crap, man. Like you have this awesome business, but you still can't pay yourself very much. Like why? Like what's going on? So yeah, there's all kinds of cool stuff like that comes from it. Whether it's like an in-person mastermind or it's even like, there's Facebook groups that are technically masterminds, and there's people that post in them all the time. And a lot of stuff in between too.
When you started to consider fast foundations, what's the conversation that was going on in your head? Obviously you were getting value from it, but to see yourself running one, tell me about the conversation that was going on in your head, why you were considering it, and what was the deciding factor that gave you the faith, so to speak, to go, I can do this and it will benefit my company, because it's a big investment of time and effort.
Yeah. So lots of ways to like come after that, right? There's the financial side. I think, and most of your audience and the two of us, like we have to look at things from a like, okay, this all sounds fun, but how do we make money? And unfortunately, or fortunately, I mean, it depends on how you look at it. We have to ask ourselves that question all the time. And so Jim and I had that conversation. And it was the business model that our friend Chris, who was running the mastermind for a while, set up was already profitable. And he showed us the numbers. So he said, okay, here's the last 2 rounds of the mastermind that we did pre-pandemic, because during the pandemic, they went full virtual and we wanted to be in person again for events. And so he said, okay, pre-pandemic, here's what the last couple events looked like. Here was our profitability on the events. So if you spend, this much on marketing, you spend this much on the hotels and all that stuff. And then you have at least, if there's 50 people in the group, it's like total potential, and you have at least 30 or 35, then you're making money. And so we looked at it from just like a straight up financial, basically reviewing the P&L first. And that made sense. And those are real numbers. Like I think we had to get at least 25 people to like break even based on our first analysis. We ended up at 32. We didn't get all the way to 50, but for our first time, I think that's, we're really proud of the 32 people that we found, and they're awesome. And so the first round, we won't make a whole lot of profit, but hopefully we can fill it, in subsequent rounds and have all 50. So financially, it justified, conservatively. It wasn't like we had to get all 50 seats filled to make money. So that was good. And then, it went back to that, like, what does our agency stand for? And we have the word integrity in our mission statement. And we talk about empathy a lot. And we talk about the concept of as the tide rises, all ships rise a lot. And Jim and I met in Fast Foundations in 2019. And so it was like part of the origin story of the agency, because we had the idea to merge our two agencies while in this exact mastermind. And so all of that combined, we were just like, you know what? Someone somewhere is telling us we should do this. It pencils financially. It feels good. We can do it with integrity. And the story of it is really cool because we founded our agency from this mastermind. And so that's how we justified it. It's, it always could make more money. Everything could. It always could be better justified. We have plenty of other things we should and could do. But it's been such a fun ride that I think we made the right decision.
Tell us about the ROI as far as the relationships. You can pencil it in and see justify it financially, but there are all sorts of collateral benefits from the relationships. What are some examples?
Yeah, I mean, best example is just Jim and I meeting in Fast Foundations originally. We both had 6-figure agencies, and now we merged. And he and I were looking at the numbers just yesterday, and we're up almost 400% over last year, because he and I realized we had really complementary skill sets. He's really like, if you ever done the DISC test, he's a C. And so he's very like analytical. He's very precise on how he makes all the decisions. He runs all the numbers. He's very great on operations. And then I'm more like the DI side. And so I really like to talk to people. I don't like to look at the spreadsheets. I don't like operations. I want to just hang out with other people and other humans all day, every day. And so by joining, we were both CEOs, and now we could say, okay, he's like basically COO and doing all the operational stuff, and I'm like chief revenue officer, and I do all the sales stuff. And that's worked out really well. So that's like the best example and part of our origin story. The other one that just from like a connections and all that kind of stuff. When I joined Fast Foundations in 2019, Vortic was going through a huge lawsuit. I had a federal lawsuit that I was dealing with. We since won. It's done. I paid the legal bill. Like, we're totally good. It was all about trademarks. Whole other podcast if you want to get into that. But I didn't have anyone to talk to about it. And through talking about it and all that stuff and just sharing what I do for Vortic, I had 49 other humans that were like my cheerleader. Every time I launched a new product, I had 49 people. I mean, like probably 30 of the 50 shared it on Instagram the last time I launched a watch. And so the like leveraging the network was huge in that way. Not to mention, just literally, I sold several watches to the other people in the mastermind. And that happens, you sell services to other people because, I mean, they've met you in person, they trust you, they like you, they know you're not weird. And so you get a lot of that kind of stuff. And then in between the meetings, they all have like a virtual aspect. Some masterminds are just on Facebook groups. We use Mighty Networks for ours. So it's like a whole online community. And all the time somebody posts like, hey, does anyone know anyone that does Amazon listings, or any idea on like how I can put my product on Amazon? And there's like 3 comments on that post within an hour or two that say, yep, let me connect you to this person via email, or here's a link to this consultant that I used last time I did it, or yeah, I've done it myself a couple of times. Let me know when you want to hop onto Zoom. And none of those people are charging anyone any money for that connection or that opportunity. They're all just kind of, as the tide rises, all ships rise. So there's certainly big things that can happen, but I would say the magic is in the little wins that happen just periodically, of like, you have this random question that you have no idea where to ask it, and you probably just type it into Google, but you can put it in your mastermind group and you have a bunch of people that are going to help you for free and help you with love. And that's pretty awesome.
What's one of the things that you learned about yourself in this group that like changed your limiting belief personally?
So when I first joined Fast Foundations, and when I joined other masterminds in the past, a lot of people said, hey, RT, like the watches that you make with Vortic Watch Company, they are so awesome. Like, why aren't you charging more? And I was just like, well, our cost of goods sold is this, and, our marketing is this and all that stuff. And they were like, forget how much it costs. And I heard this, what's the number? You have to hear something like 7. It might be like more than that now, because we're just bombarded with marketing all day. But something like, if you hear something 7 times from 7 different locations, especially in marketing and advertising, that it finally sticks. I had to have like 15 people across multiple years tell me that we were not charging enough to increase our prices more than like 10%. And that has created a huge ROI for me, just like having the confidence to say like, okay, all of these people, like literally Chris Harder, who ran Fast Foundations, he kind of became my mentor. He was just like, I'm gonna be real with you, man. My friends that buy Rolexes and stuff, and including myself, I'm not going to buy a Vortic watch unless it's at least a few $1,000s, because I perceive a watch that's less than about $5,000 as a low quality entry level watch. I'm used to buying Rolexes at tens of thousands. And that perspective was super validating, was awesome. Like I just needed to hear it enough times. The average price of a Vortic watch in 2018 was roughly $1,800. The average price at the end of 2021 was $3,800. Our costs have actually gone down over that time because we're getting better. And so we're finally profitable. You can imagine we were not profitable in 2018. Now it's this very sustainable business, and we're actually like a very healthy business profitability wise. And it's just because we're charging what we're worth. And honestly, now I think we're worth even more, and we keep raising the prices because the quality is there and we can be compared to an Omega or Rolex. And that's really exciting. But yeah, that's to answer your question. I just had to have a bunch of people tell me that enough. And I think that's the same for in our, like the agency world too. It's just like, hey, that service that you offer, nobody does that. And you're charging $1,500 a month. Like, what are you doing, man? Like, come on, like get your value. But we got to hear it. We got to hear it enough times. We got to have that validation.
Absolutely. So this is part of the show where I like to ask, these questions that I hear often and that are important. And I just want to get your perspective. Okay. And so, how do you organize a mastermind group?
So let's see. Great question. How do you organize a mastermind group? I would say to properly organize a mastermind group, it starts with the vision and the why of why you're doing it. And then it unravels into who are you trying to serve? So for Fast Foundations, we do it. Our why is to help people, help entry-level small business owners and entrepreneurs grow their businesses, typically from 6 to 7 figures. That's how we describe it. So to define that even further, the who, like who we're serving, is entrepreneurs and small business owners with roughly $500,000 in annual revenue or less. Typically, we say the who is like somebody with like $10,000 a year at least, or up to 500, basically like you have an idea, you're actively pursuing something, you have some revenue coming in, you just need to figure out how to scale it. And then once you have that of like why you're doing it and who you're trying to serve, then you have to come up with the container. We call it what is the container of the thing. And so Fast Foundation's container is a 5-month long program with 1 2.5 day event in person in the first month, and then 1 2-day event in person in the last month. So month 1 and month 5, there's a roughly 2-day in-person event. It's not a conference. It's not just like a get together, a meetup. There's a bunch of speakers. There's a bunch of breakout groups. There's a bunch of awesome stuff inside those like sub containers. But the container is that 5-month long program with 2 events on either side. And then there's Zoom calls. And for us, like I said, an online community in between where everybody helps each other, gets into accountability groups and stuff like that. Once you have who you're serving, why you're serving them, and the container in which they're being served, then you just have to pull together the right team. And that's difficult in itself. But you have to have the team or the resources. I mean, if this was a full-time job and this was only the thing that only I was doing, I probably need like 1 person and like an event manager, and then I could probably figure it out. We pulled together most of our leadership team from the agency, and we kind of do it as a group, which is, I think, more sustainable and more fun. And then, yeah, you curate the experience with the speakers and the talks, and you ask your humans that join, what do you want to learn and how can we provide that for you? And then you show up.
Awesome. Well, that answers how to create a mastermind as well. And that answers how to run a mastermind. That was really, I loved how you flowed that out, because, you think about, okay, great, I'm gonna start my own mastermind, but there's a lot of management behind the scenes and coordination. You have to have the software, a communication system. So how do you acclimate, or how do you bring folks in and go, all right, we're in Mighty Networks. This is how you sign up. This is how you communicate. Here's where do you do something? How do you get them to adopt that software? It's a new way to communicate, right?
Yeah. I would say that's maybe, if I could expand on like how to run a mastermind, I think you're right. We definitely talked about how to create one, how to organize one, that's all kind of one and the same. But the day-to-day of running one is mostly that, like you're organizing the events on either side. But a lot of people, and really one of the questions you asked was like, why this type of model? We wanted to bring everything back in person and do in-person events post-pandemic. And so that was really my why, is like, I'm a hugger. Like I want to be in person, and like, if we need to have a mask on, we'll do it, like whatever, but like, let's be in the same room. And so that was a lot of the reasons I want to do it. But there's a lot of online virtual masterminds, and then ours has the virtual component in between. And I would say people use Mighty Networks, like what we use. They use Circle, which is a competitor to Mighty Networks, something really similar. And I would say most of the mastermind industry and most coaches and a lot of people that we know, they have a Facebook group. And whether it's Mighty Networks, Circle, Facebook group, or some other kind of like virtual community center, you have that same adoption problem. Facebook has always been the easiest, right? It's just like, hey, just sign in, join my Facebook group. That's getting harder every day because people are leaving Facebook. There's a lot of young people that just have never had Facebook in their entire life. And that's honestly kind of awesome. And I want to support that. So we built everything that we have on Mighty Networks. And you can, every time I say Mighty Networks, just plug and play like Circle or one of their competitors. There's a bunch of other ways to do it. I just personally love Mighty Networks because I met some of their team, and I think they're really good people. And the software is awesome. But to solve the problem that you asked about, whether you're trying to get people into any kind of online community, you have to do some sort of kickoff event. If it's fully virtual, it's a Zoom call. You get everyone that joined the mastermind onto a Zoom call. You send them the emails, you get them through the payment process, all that stuff. And it's like, all right, everyone, we're on Zoom. This is our kickoff call. Excited to share the next 5 months. Some masterminds are 3 months, some masterminds are 12 months. Lots of ways to do it. Excited to spend the next 5 months together. The way we interact when we're not on Zoom is by using our online community. So I'm going to screen share. I'm going to show you how to sign up. I'm going to walk you through it. You're going to get an automated email about 5 minutes from my team with all the things to click on, and you can do this yourself. But if you are not in this online community, you will not get the information on our second Zoom call, and you don't want to miss it because we got an awesome VIP speaker coming in, and she's going to teach you all these amazing things. So my true answer, Steve, is like FOMO. It's the fear of missing out. You're going to miss out on all the conversations that happen between the in-person events or just between the Zoom calls if it's virtual. You're going to miss out on potentially the links to those next Zoom calls. There's so much information in these online communities. One of the reasons we use Mighty Networks instead of Facebook group is because Mighty Networks is kind of like Kajabi. You can have a bunch of courses in there too. And so we have, over 150 hours of video content in a course style. So people can watch like my talk at the last event was how to craft your elevator pitch. And I reference StoryBrand a lot. And so I love that stuff. And so that video is up there, and there's a little workbook that goes with it and all that kind of stuff. And that's just included in the online community now. So yeah, I would say fear of missing out is how we get the adoption. And it would be very similar on Facebook or other options. But you just got to tell them it exists, and then keep reminding them until they actually sign up. That's pretty much it.
What's the worst thing to do when you're starting off a mastermind?
The worst thing that I think Jim or I could do when starting Fast Foundations Mastermind, and we try to avoid this as much as we could, but I think the worst thing we can do is proclaim that we are the experts and all the information is coming from us. All the value is coming from the leader of the mastermind. That is not the case. And if you are being sold a mastermind and the person, he or she running it is basically saying like, I'm going to show up in the group, once a week, and I'm going to do group coaching, like that's group coaching with a coach or a consultant. That's not a mastermind. A mastermind is like, it's the members first. So we always say like, there's going to be, hopefully we get 50 people. There's going to be 49 other people in this group that are all in the same level as you, and they all want to help you. And that's it. They want to help you because when you help someone else, you're going to learn a ton in the process. And Jim and I say like, we're just the two dudes in the front of the room that like make sure everybody knows each other and make sure everybody knows where the bathroom is at the in-person events. And we hit record on the Zoom call. Our team does all the operations, and the mastermind group asks for what they need. And then the other thing that we do is we go source the speakers and the guest speakers and the people teaching the courses in the mastermind. And then we help make sure that all the resources that the group needs are in front of them. And yeah, sometimes, like I'm really good at writing elevator pitches. I love building a story brand. And so I can share a lot of value on that. But that was, 5% of the in-person mastermind was me speaking. The other 95 was all kinds of other people adding a ton of value, especially the other members adding value to each other.
Excellent answer. That's the real value from these things is the collective knowledge that exists from all these diverse experiences that are brought to the table to contribute. The last one I was in, one of the folks, they're needing a new piece of land to expand their stuff. I heard so many great ideas that I was oblivious to. And even though I didn't go there to learn that, I walked away with all these ideas that didn't exist before. And that was huge. And it was, the leader was just keeping time, basically keeping us from not wandering off in weeds, but come back and let's keep on the agenda a little bit.
Yep. Yeah. And there's so much as the leader and as another member of the mastermind. When you have even just a little bit more knowledge on a certain topic than someone else, and you're given an opportunity to share, not only does that feel really good because you feel validated for the decade of experience that you have in the specific, like real estate. Like there's a realtor or a real estate broker in every room in every mastermind, which is awesome because like, that's stuff that I know a little bit about, but not much. And to your point, you learn a lot from hearing other people help solve other people's problems. But then when you get a chance to share and you're sharing about the thing that you love and you like, and you know a lot about, halfway through you giving someone else advice, you're going to realize like, wait a second, this is really good advice. I should do this myself. Why don't I send an email every Tuesday at 12 noon like RT does? Like, I'm telling this person like, hey, I send this email, I do this thing. And then I'm like, and then if, for your business, you could totally do this, this, and this. And then as I'm saying that, I'm like, oh my gosh, like I should steal my own idea and use it for my own business. Like, that's really cool. So that ideation process is super valuable. And I think I think it all comes down, like, I would say, like, what's like a best practice while in a mastermind, or what's some of the ancillary benefits of a mastermind that you wouldn't think of. And it's focusing on your business, not in your business. People say that all the time. But especially when you're removed from your environment, and that's why we like the in-person events. So the last one was in Scottsdale, Arizona. Most people don't live there. We were in like the Hilton Hotel in a room. And we told everyone like, hey, you're 2.5 days here. You can't help your teams back at home. What's happening is happening. Focus on yourself and work on your business for just 48 hours. You can do it. And it's so awesome because it's like, if you just forget about the problems at home and you say like, oh, I could do this, I could do that, I could do this. I've been dreaming about this for years. I just didn't have the right resource, but Steve knows this guy who does that. That's awesome. Like I'm going to get that going the day I get back. So much of that on instead of in is huge. And then I would say another best practice, being part of a mastermind, is if you have an in-person event or you have like a full day Zoom workshop or something where you're going to learn a lot and get a lot of ideas, schedule like at least 3 or 4 hours the next day, the next morning, ideally, to just sit and just journal and think and write and implement. Because if you leave a mastermind event or you leave a full day Zoom call, even like a Tony Robbins concert, right? It just feels like a concert. But like if you spend 48 hours working on your business and zoomed out like that, and then you just hop right back into the next Monday, you're not going to get anything done. And you're gonna be like, why am I doing all this stuff? So best practice, I would say, is take the time and give yourself a little bit of space when you get back or the following day to actually implement a couple things. We call it the one thing. If there's one thing you took away and you're going to actually achieve and do right after this 2-day event, what's the one thing you're going to accomplish? And then do that one thing and don't do anything else until it's done. And that works really well for a lot of people.
That's an excellent tip. So, RT, this has been an excellent conversation. I really enjoyed it, and you've been an awesome guest. Tell us a little bit about the Custer and Wolf YouTube show and where folks can reach out to you. Maybe they want to become a part of Fast Foundations.
Yeah. So, I guess that is like the other thing. I have so many things. I love all the things that I'm blessed to do. I get to do because I have such a great team. One of the ideas that we had in a mastermind that I was in, was like, hey, somebody, and I think again, like several people came up to me and were like, hey, you should really do this. At Vortic Watch Company, we make really cool wristwatches, and we make most of it ourselves. We have our own machine, we have our own building, and it's just myself and my business partner Tyler Wolf. And they were just like, so many people, they were just like, just hit record, like put what you do on YouTube. Like, people love to see machines making metal parts. Like, just, you think it's normal and boring, but the rest of the internet is like, dude, that's awesome. And so recently we finally took that advice and we started a YouTube TV show called Custer and Wolf, Building a Watch Company. And we're basically documenting all the cool stuff that we do at Vortic. We just invested in GoPros for like everybody on the team, so we can film all the stuff that they're doing. And it's my first like journey into like basically a TV show. And it's been really cool. We're trying to make it more of like half reality show, half how it's made, kind of thing behind the scenes. And yeah, that's one way to find me is through Vortic. So my email address is just rt@vorticwatches.com. You can find out about all the stuff that I'm doing on my Instagram. It's just RT Custer, like Robert Thomas, RT Custer, Custer on Instagram or LinkedIn. I try to post some stuff on there too. And then, yeah, I mean, all my things have landing pages. Fast Foundations is just fastfoundations.com. Carter and Custer Agency is carterandcuster.com, and Vortic Watches is vorticwatches.com. And yeah, I'd love to help and talk watches, talk ad agency stuff, or especially talk masterminds. Like we talked about, Steve, I could talk about this stuff all day. I love masterminds and all the great things that come from them. So thanks for giving me the opportunity.
Absolutely. I really enjoyed it. One Sunday afternoon, I think I've spent like 2 hours watching this guy. He didn't say one word, but he took apart a motorcycle and refurbished it and put it back together. Now, he didn't do it all in that hour and a half, but you saw the cut
like
parts.
Fast forwards and cuts. Yeah.
Yeah, but
I love those.
It was amazing, but it was like, what do they call it? ASMR. You hear them working, but he's not talking whatsoever.
You just get sucked in.
Yeah. And it just was really fascinating to watch it come apart, it get cleaned up, to get repainted and all these new parts and put back together. And then to see it start up and ride off. It was a really cool story.
Yeah. Yeah. And we definitely want to do stuff like that. And that's pretty much where we're headed. Cause I agree. I mean, some of those videos, I see them on Instagram. It's like the fast forward of somebody restoring something or fixing something. And yeah, it's fascinating.
All right. RT Custer, thanks for being an awesome guest on the ROI Online Podcast.
Thanks, Steve. Appreciate you.
All right. And that's a wrap.